It's time for another quick takes, ladies and gentlemen. Your 2016-2017 NFL playoff preview. But before I get started, I just want to get this off my chest. I hate the way the mainstream media, the sports media, picks games. I don't like the way they go about it, and I don't like the way they do it. So the way a lot of these guys pick games is they try to persuade the viewer, okay? They try to make it as if their pick is gospel, as if they would know better than you. But the fact of the matter is, nobody knows what's going to happen in these games, and that's why we watch. So I think the better way to pick games is to take a look at why either team can win the game. Yes, you have an opinion. I have an opinion, and you pick the game. But you know, to act like or to try to persuade the viewer, I don't understand that. And I'm persuasive all the time. If I say that Phil Jackson should be more careful about what he says, if I think that Henrik Lundqvist shouldn't be benched, I have an opinion. I think I'm right, and I try to be persuasive about it. But in the case of picking games, that is not how I like to go about things, and that's not how I'm going to go about things. But let's get started. Also, actually, one more thing. In the comments, this would be a great video to be active in the comment section. Say who you think will come out of the AFC, who you think will come out of the NFC, and who you believe will win the Super Bowl. And I'm really curious to see who you guys will be picking, and we'll get some discussion down there. So leave a comment below. We start in the worst way we could possibly start in any scenario imaginable, and that is with the Houston Texans and the Oakland Raiders. Boy, is this a tough situation for everyone involved. You have Tom Savage and Connor Cook. That's your quarterback matchup. Both Brock Osweiler and Derek Carr are injured for their respective teams. So Tom Savage and is the quarterback for the Texans. Connor Cook, the quarterback for the Raiders. Neither is very all that impressive. Connor Cook we haven't seen much of, but we don't suspect he'll be anything special. Tom Savage we have seen a little bit of, and believe me when I say he's not all that great. I'm going to pick the Raiders in this game, really just because I'm rooting for them. I feel bad for their fan base. They've been really, really, really bad for the better part of the last decade. And all of a sudden in 2016, they're getting really good results. They have a young, promising quarterback, and they're thinking that in a flawed AFC, maybe they can be contenders. And then their starting quarterback goes down. They're not a great defensive team. They don't run the ball all that well. So really, Derek Carr was essential to the success of the Oakland Raiders. Whoever wins this game, they will have no chance against either the New England Patriots or the Kansas City Chiefs in the following round. That's something that's safe to say, as safe as it gets. Nothing's completely safe, but I hope the Raiders win. We'll see. Neither of those teams are going anywhere. Moving on, still in the AFC, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is an interesting one because these two teams met in Week 6, and the Dolphins beat the Steelers 30-15. Jay Ajayi in that game had 204 rush yards. Will that happen again? The Dolphins, they're the right kind of team to beat the Steelers. They're physical. They can shove it down your throat. They're a team that's playing really, really good football, very under the radar. And although their starting quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, went down, Matt Moore has actually been pretty good in his place. So the Dolphins are actually no slouch. I do, however, think the Steelers are going to come out on top in this game. And I'm actually fairly confident about this pick as well. First off, Jay Ajayi. He got really hot after that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was his breakout game, and the next 3 or 4 games, he was really a dominant running back. Since then, in the last 8 weeks, Jay Ajayi has rushed for over 100 yards just once. So he's really slowed down, And the Steelers, they're going to have to worry about him, and he's going to have to be, he's a threat to be reckoned with. But the Steelers will probably be able to at least contain Jay Ajayi, and hopefully for Steelers fans, they're not giving up 200 plus yards again. I don't think that's going to happen. And all in all, I'm really high on the Steelers. They're riding a 7-game win streak, and their offensive line's playing really well. Ben Roethlisberger's playing really well. Didn't have a great Week 17, but that's okay. And I like this team a lot. I'll talk about them more later. But we move on to the NFC, where you have, in my opinion, the most intriguing part of this year's playoff bracket. You have Green Bay, the New York Giants, and the Dallas Cowboys all bunched up top there in the NFC. It is a very, very intriguing section over here. And this is the most intriguing wild card game of the weekend, although I do have my New York bias. I'm not a Giants fan, but I do have my New York bias. This is really interesting. So let's take a look at the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers said that they needed to run the table. Since then, the Packers have won 6 straight. Even more impressively, and to give you an idea about how they've been winning these games, in the last 4 games, the Packers have scored over 30 points. 4 games in a row. That's unbelievable. In the 6-game winning streak, Aaron Rodgers, 15 touchdowns to no interceptions. He has been absolutely incredible. But the Giants' D is a formidable defense. Can they stop the Green Bay Packers? Can they win this game like they've been winning games so far this season? Low scoring, tight, grind it out, physical games. They are number 2 in points allowed per game are the New York Giants. So that defense is really good. Eli has sort of struggled, but a lot of the times he's done enough. Here's why I'm picking the Green Bay Packers to win this game. The Giants' defense, while they are a very, very good defense, I believe where they're elite is their rush defense. That's where they've really made their money this season, especially with Damon Harrison up front. The Giants' rush defense has been unbelievable. But that's not really where Green Bay attacks you. Green Bay attacks you with Aaron Rodgers and the passing attack. And in total pass defense, the New York Giants are only 23rd. Now, that's total pass defense. It's not the greatest stat in the world. It's not always the most telling stat in the world. But the point is, the Giants, they are not overwhelming in terms of their pass defense like they are in their rush defense. Therefore, I actually think Green Bay will match up with the Giants nicely. This game will be at home for Green Bay at Lambeau Field. So I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. Once again, very interesting game. We'll see what happens. And then in your 4th and final wild card matchup, you have the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions. This one, I don't have much to say about this one. Seattle, they are 7-1 at home. They feed off the energy that their home crowd provides for them. And Detroit has stumbled into the playoffs. They have lost their last 3 games. So I'm going with the Seahawks in this one. I don't think you need to look much further. Sure, and Detroit can win. This is not a no-brainer. I think the pick I'm probably most confident about is the Steelers over the Dolphins. The other 3, I think a little bit closer. This one can go either way. Not enough people are giving the Lions a shot, in my opinion. But I'm gonna pick the Seattle Seahawks. They're 7-1 at home. Detroit has lost their last 3 games. Those are really the only 2 stats I really need to throw out there, in my opinion. So I was going to go through every matchup, but I don't want to try to analyze matchups that may or may not actually happen. There's no way I'm doing that. And then once again, we learn so much about these teams. I need to see them more. From here on out, the games are nationally televised, which is really nice because a lot of these teams, I only get to watch them, 3 times, with the exception of like the Giants and the Cowboys, maybe 2, 3, maybe even 1 time all season. So we're going to learn a lot. Those are my wild card picks. I'm not going to go through my divisional picks or my championship picks, or maybe we'll go through it really quickly. I got the Patriots. Oh, okay. So there's the Seahawks. I got the Patriots over the Raiders. I got the Steelers over the Chiefs. I have Green Bay over Dallas. I am so torn on that game. I really don't know who I'm picking in that game. But whoever does win that game, I will say this. Whoever wins between Green Bay and Dallas, or maybe it's between the Giants and Dallas, I think that they have a really, really good chance of coming out of the NFC. And then finally in the divisional round, I have Atlanta over the Seahawks. Then in the championship games, this is a very interesting AFC championship. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers in that one. And in the NFC championship, I'm going with Green Bay. And for the Super Bowl champion, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Once again, what I say, it's not gospel. I know as good as the next guy, and I honestly believe that you really, no matter how much research you do, this is pretty close to March Madness when it comes to the Super Bowl. You really don't know, but I will tell you why. I'm gonna go with the Steelers. I just think at a certain point, and by the way, New England has been the most impressive team this season, offensively, defensively for sure, perhaps offensively as well. New England has been the most impressive team. The reason I'm going with the Steelers is I just think it's time. First of all, they're red hot. They've won 7 straight, and I've loved what I've seen from them. At a certain point, you look at this roster. You look at what this team has been able to put together. Arguably an elite quarterback, arguably the best running back in the league, probably the best wide receiver in the league, and an offensive line that has looked really, really good. That is just a lethal combination. There are no holes in that offense. When you look at their defensive statistics, it's been pretty close to average, and I think that's going to be enough to push them over that hump. Once again, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, and an offensive line that's looking really good. No one comes even close to matching the weapons that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, so I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that they probably, in their offense, they have just the most dynamic factor on either side of the field as anyone in the NFL. The Broncos last year, their defense was better than anyone's defense or offense. You know, what is the most potent weapon in the NFL postseason? And sometimes, you know, rarely do you have a very, very well-rounded team, even though New England comes pretty close. I'm just going to go with what I believe is the most potent weapon in the NFL postseason, and I believe the most potent weapon is the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. That's why I'm going with Pittsburgh. But I'm really curious to see what you guys have. So please leave a comment in the comment section below. Who do you have? And maybe we'll get into some nice YouTube comment wars. There's really nothing better, believe me. And a lot of people telling me they don't have a YouTube account. What do you mean? If you have a Gmail, then you have a YouTube account. If you have a Google account, they're linked. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe with that new YouTube account that you're going to log into, even though you didn't think you had. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.